CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I've noticed that these kinds of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might even make the experience a little creepier. So, tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I accidentally clicked a dark web link in my spam folder. Now there's a van parked outside my house that never leaves. Yo, what's up guys? I'm not even gonna lie, I debated posting this at all. I don't really do Reddit much, mostly just scroll for memes or weird news. But I've been losing sleep over this for the past 2 weeks. I don't know who else to tell. I already tried the cops, and that was, a mistake. You'll see why. Anyway, if you're into those creepy YouTube horror channels or Reddit threads about the deep web, you've probably heard a bunch of stories that sound fake. Like, I ordered a hitman and now my goldfish is possessed. Nah, this one's different. This actually happened to me. And it all started with the dumb mistake I made while half awake, going through my Gmail spam folder. It was one of those days. I had just come back from college classes, cracked open a cold monster, and was scrolling through emails on my laptop while watching some Luna videos in the background. Y'all know the vibe, brain totally on autopilot. My spam folder was getting out of control, so I figured I'd just do a quick purge. Click, click, delete kind of thing. But then I saw this one email. It had the subject line, "Still interested in the show? Final invite." Inside, it looked like it came from some random address like watching ufinal at fastmail.cc or some sketchy domain like that. Normally I wouldn't even touch that. But here's the thing. I had signed up for this online streaming thing a few weeks ago that was supposed to show underground indie horror films. You know, the weird ones that never hit Netflix but blow up on TikTok. And I did get an invite to a beta version of the site before. So, my half-fried brain thought maybe this was related to that. I clicked it. The body of the email was just a black background with a single sentence in white text. Click below for your personal room. And yeah, I know. Big red flag. Huge. But the way the site was designed, minimal, cryptic, creepy as hell, it actually looked like one of those horror RRGs people share on Discord or X. Yeah, I still call it Twitter, IDC. The link took me to a page that looked like an old school Windows 98 style interface. Just a black screen with an embedded player. No branding, no exit button. And there was this loading bar that said, initializing private feed. I was like, okay, this is probably one of those spooky live stream games. Right? Wrong. After about 10 seconds, the screen flickered and a grainy black and white feed started playing. It was CCTV footage, a camera angle that looked like it was mounted in the corner of some dimly lit basement, like Home Depot concrete walls, a single desk lamp dangling from the ceiling, and a metal table in the center. And then, someone walked into frame. I swear to God, it looked like a guy in his 20s, blindfolded, hands zip-tied behind his back. He stumbled forward like he had been shoved. Then a second figure came into frame. They were wearing this old, greasy-looking rabbit mask. the kind that looks like it was part of a knockoff Chuck E. Cheese costume from the 80s. No clothes besides the mask and a black hoodie. The way they moved didn't look human, like jittery, too fast, like the video was skipping, but it wasn't. They walked up behind the blindfolded guy and just stood there. The video stayed like that for maybe a minute. Then the screen glitched and the page refreshed itself, just blanked out. I thought it crashed, but instead of going back to Gmail, it suddenly opened my webcam. Deadass. My webcam flicked on. That green little light came on. I freaked the hell out and slammed my laptop shut. Didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, I figured maybe it was just some virus or whatever, so I booted up my laptop in safe mode, deleted the last few downloads, ran Malwarebytes. I was kind of freaking out, but also trying to gaslight myself into thinking it was just some deep fake horror prank, until I looked outside my window. There was a white van parked on the street. Nothing unusual at first. It's a quiet suburban neighborhood. Vans show up all the time. Amazon, contractors. But this one, no logo, no windows, just parked, engine off, not moving. Okay, whatever. The next day, still there, same spot. Third day, still there. So I took a closer look from my upstairs window and noticed something weird. There was a sticker in the bottom corner of the windshield. You know those ones that show parking permits or business tags? But this one had a weird red symbol on it. I couldn't see it clearly, but it kind of looked like a spiral with an eye in the middle. I googled the symbol. Nothing came up. I posted a blurry photo on Reddit under r/what is this thing? Some people said it looked like an old occult symbol. Someone else said it reminded them of a mark used in an ARG from a few years ago that got pulled off the internet. But no one had anything concrete. I thought maybe I was being paranoid until I left the house to grab Starbucks. As soon as I pulled out of my driveway, the van pulled out too. I tested it, took random turns, drove in loops around the neighborhood, parked for 15 minutes at the Target parking lot. They never left me alone. I called the police that night, told them someone was stalking me. They sent out a squad car. The van was gone by the time they showed up. Of course, the officer was chill, probably younger than me, honestly, but he gave me that "you watch too many horror movies" look. Told me there wasn't much they could do unless the person actually trespassed or made contact. But that wasn't even the worst part. When I came back inside, I noticed something on my phone. You know how Apple has that new feature where your iPhone shows recent devices connected to your iCloud? There was a new one listed. Spectator 12, unknown device. I never added that. And worse, my camera roll had a new video on it, just 4 seconds long. A zoomed-in silent recording of me sleeping, taken from my bedroom door. I live alone. If you guys want me to keep going, let me know. This rabbit hole goes way deeper than I ever thought it would, and I've got receipts. I haven't slept right in over a week, and every time I look outside, the van is still there. And now, there's someone sitting in the driver's seat. So it's 3:47 a.m. right now, and I'm writing this from the floor of my bedroom with every light turned off, wrapped in a blanket, laptop dimmed to the lowest setting. I haven't slept in 2 days, not properly. Every time I close my eyes, I either see that face, if you can even call it that, or I hear the sound of scratching, and I'm not talking about rats in the walls. I'm talking about something scratching the inside of my walls, but we'll get to that. This is going to sound fake, like a creepypasta some edgy 14-year-old wrote on r/NOSLEEP while watching Here's My Story with the lights off, but I swear on everything. I don't care if you believe me or not. I wish this wasn't real. I wish I made this up, but I didn't. Because tonight, the van door opened. Okay, backing up. After I found that video of myself sleeping on my phone, I legit threw up in the bathroom. I don't even remember doing it. I blacked out for like a minute. My heart was pounding in this unnatural way, like I was short-circuiting. It wasn't just the video, it was the angle. It wasn't taken from a camera placed in the room. It was from the doorway, which means whoever took it was standing there. I never heard anything. I live in a one-bedroom apartment, 3rd floor, deadbolt locked, chain latch secured, and a smart lock with an app that sends me notifications when the door opens. None of those showed anything. There was no break-in alert. Nothing. Just that video, buried in my camera roll, time-stamped at 3:04 a.m. That was when I started hearing the scratching. At first, I thought I was losing my mind. You know how the brain plays tricks on you when you're anxious and tired? But no, this wasn't in my head. The scratching was coming from behind the wall, always from the same spot, right behind my bed's headboard. Sometimes slow and methodical, like fingernails. Other times it sounded like something was burrowing through the drywall. I knocked back. It stopped. Every single time I tried to record it, the audio came out glitched, like some distorted static cut in halfway through the clip. At one point, I even tried doing a live stream on TikTok. I only had like 200 followers, but I figured maybe someone would catch it. But the second I hit go live, my entire phone rebooted. I'm not joking. It just crashed and restarted. And the weirdest part? When I checked my camera app after, there was another video there. This time, it was from inside my closet. I don't even open my closet at night. The next few days, things got worse. I noticed my neighbors were acting strange, like eerily polite, but in that robotic way. You know when people are trying too hard to be normal? Mr. Jacobson, the old dude across the hall, who never says more than 2 words to me, suddenly started giving me full conversations. Nice weather lately, huh? You keeping safe? Things are different now, right? The guy has dementia, I'm pretty sure. And yet, he was suddenly sharp. Too sharp. And always watching. Just like the van. Always watching. Friday night was the breaking point. I came home from getting food. McDonald's. Because I wasn't about to cook while being stalked. And I noticed my apartment door looked off. Like it was slightly ajar. Just enough to make your stomach drop. I stood in the hallway for maybe 10 minutes, holding a bag of fries in one hand and my phone in the other, debating whether to call the cops or go in. I went in. I wish I hadn't. Everything looked normal at first. Nothing stolen, no signs of forced entry. But then I walked into my bedroom. The air smelled like wet copper and mildew, and on my wall, carved into the paint with something sharp, were 4 words: "You've been selected." Underneath it was a small gray feather, like a pigeon's, but covered in what looked like dry blood. I noped out so fast, I don't even remember grabbing my keys. I ran to my car and drove to a 24-hour Starbucks on the other side of town. Sat there until sunrise with my laptop, trying to find anything about the website I visited. Old threads, archived links, anything. I ended up on this ancient internet forum that hadn't been active since like 2013. A thread titled WRM-What Really Matters caught my eye. Someone had posted, "If you're reading this, it's already too late. The room sees you. The spectator chooses you. The mask finds you. Don't answer the knocks." I couldn't find any other info. The site crashed 5 minutes later. I was starting to spiral. I hadn't slept. My food tasted like nothing. And every time I went back home, the van was there. But it never moved. Never turned its lights on. Just sat there like it was waiting for something. Until tonight. Tonight, I watched the door of the van slide open. I was watching from my blinds. It was around 1:30 a.m. The street was dead silent. The only light came from the street lamp down the block, flickering like it was about to go out. The van door opened slowly, like it was being dragged on rusted rails. Inside was nothing, or at least it looked like nothing at first. Then something stepped out. I swear, I can't even describe this thing right. It looked like a man, but wrong. Its limbs were too long, knees bent backward, its head tilted in this jerky, unnatural way, like it wasn't attached properly, and it was wearing that same rabbit mask, now dirtier, cracked down the middle, with something oozing out the cracks. But the worst part, it was holding a phone. My phone. I checked my pocket. My phone was gone. I ran to the door, deadbolted it again. Every lock, every chain, every window closed, lights off. Sat in the dark for 2 hours with my kitchen knife and a flashlight I haven't used since high school camping trips. Then I heard the scratching again. This time, it wasn't from the wall. It was from inside the ceiling, like something was crawling through the vents. I pointed the flashlight up. Just empty grates. Then I got a notification on my laptop. New email. We see you. Spectator_12. No subject. No sender. The body of the email was just a live camera feed of me, right now, sitting in the dark, typing this. There's more. So much more. The package I found on my balcony, the blood under the welcome mat, the name they left carved into my bathroom mirror last night. But I'll save that for part 3, if I am still here to write it. Just, whatever you do, don't click the links in your spam folder. They're not spam. They're invitations. It's 5:12 a.m. I'm covered in someone else's blood. Not mine. Not yet. I've been staring at this blinking cursor on my screen for the past 10 minutes, trying to decide if writing this is even worth it anymore. I don't know if anyone's actually reading this. I don't know if anyone can. Every time I send this story out, my Wi-Fi resets. My smart TV flickers like it's possessed. My phone vibrates from numbers I've never seen before. International ones. Places like Moldova, Romania, Macau, and each one just says the same thing when I answer. Keep watching. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You're already infected. No, not a virus. Not that easy. I'm talking about them. The ones who run the room. I call them the Watchers. But that's not their name. Their real name is not something I think I'm allowed to say. You ever have a dream so vivid that you know if you speak about it, it'll become real? That's what it feels like. I wrote the name down once, in my notes app. That night, I woke up with bite marks on my forearm. No joke. Not like a dog bite. Like human teeth. Spaced too far apart to be normal. My skin still stinks like sulfur where the wound healed. Like something burned me from the inside out. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me explain what happened. after I got that email. The email that said, "We see you, spectator_12. The moment I saw it, my ears started ringing, loud, like static pouring directly into my skull. I couldn't breathe right. My chest got tight, and my nose started bleeding. Just drips at first, but they hit the keyboard and smeared the keys. The live camera feed showed me looking directly at the screen, even though I was frozen. I swear, it was like I wasn't controlling my own body anymore. In the corner of the video window was a timer, red digits, slowly counting down from 00666, and when it hit 0000, the screen glitched and the feed cut to a new one. Not me, not anymore. It was a girl, maybe 19 or 20, blonde hair, gagged with a zip tie around her wrists, crying, tied to a rusty chair in a basement that looked way too familiar. Same setup as the one I saw in part 1. Metal table, dim lamp swinging overhead, except now I could hear her, screaming, begging. There was no button to exit, no pause, no mute. Then a shadow moved behind her, same rabbit mask, this time stained, cracked down the side, one eye hole torn open to reveal nothing, just pitch black where a face should have been. And the thing, it wasn't walking, it was dragging itself, like its bones didn't work right. Every movement sounded like something wet being snapped in half. It stood behind her for what felt like forever. Then the screen cut to black again, and a message popped up in red. Spectator 12 has chosen to witness. Thank you for your loyalty. I slammed the laptop shut and threw it across the room. It powered back on its own, and it opened up my own files, my family photos, my camera roll, my resume, my Amazon order history, even DMs I deleted years ago, every private part of my life. And one by one, the files started replacing themselves. The image of my mom at my graduation, replaced by a photo of her with her eyes missing. My baby photo from the hospital, replaced by an ultrasound that didn't look human. All of them were labeled the same way. We know you. We watch you. You brought us in. Later that night, I left my apartment and went to a motel 3 towns over. Didn't matter. The van followed me. Not right away, but eventually, like it was toying with me. When I checked in at the desk, the clerk didn't even look up. She just slid a key across the counter and said, "Room 66. You're expected." Expected. I didn't say anything, just walked to the room and locked myself in. I pushed the desk and dresser in front of the door, shoved a chair under the knob, even barricaded the window with the mattress, and then the TV turned on, by itself. No remote in sight. It wasn't static this time. It was footage of the hotel lobby, live, and in the corner of the frame was that same rabbit-masked figure, standing motionless by the vending machine, just staring straight into the camera. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Not after what I found under the bed. There was a duffel bag, blood-soaked, smelled like rot. Inside were a bunch of old Polaroids, dozens of them, all pictures of people, kids, adults, elderly, tied to that same metal chair. Every one of them was in the middle of being watched. The last photo was me, sitting at my desk, writing part 2 of this story. When I left the motel, I drove without a destination, just away, burned through a full tank of gas. I stopped at this random abandoned rest stop outside a forested area, somewhere near the edge of town. No signs, no lights. I stepped out, took a breath of air, and that's when I noticed it. There were mirrors nailed to the trees, old, rusted mirrors, all different sizes, just dangling like ornaments. When I got closer, I realized none of them showed me. Instead, they showed scenes, different places, a Starbucks, a high school hallway, a child's bedroom, and in every single one was that thing, the rabbit mask, watching, waiting. I shattered one of the mirrors with a rock, and I swear, I heard something scream, not from the mirror, from the air itself. When I got back to my apartment this morning, I found a package on my kitchen counter. I didn't bring it in. It had no return label, just my name and a piece of tape sealing the cardboard box. Inside was a VHS tape and a piece of paper that said, "Every spectator must eventually perform." I don't own a VHS player. Who the hell does? So I borrowed one from the pawn shop across the street, paid $20 for it, and went back home. Plugged it into the TV in the living room. The tape started without warning. Black and white, same flickering quality. This time, it wasn't a basement. It was my bedroom. Footage from last night, of me sleeping. Except I wasn't in my bed. I was standing in the corner, facing the wall, like I was being punished or possessed. I watched myself turn around. The figure on the screen looked directly into the camera. I expected to see my own face, but what I saw instead was the rabbit mask on me. There's no moral to this, no twist ending. This isn't an urban legend. This is a broadcast, and it's spreading. Every time I post a new part of this story, someone else gets selected. Maybe you're next. Maybe you've already been chosen. Maybe you've seen the van and didn't even realize it. Or maybe you already clicked the link and now you're just waiting your turn. There's a noise your brain doesn't know how to process until you hear it for real. It's not quite human, but it wants to be. It copies how people sound, like it's learned the words, but not the meaning. It comes out mangled, like someone gargling a scream through a throat full of broken glass and TV static. That's the sound that woke me up last night. It was coming from my bathroom. The door was open, the light was off, but something inside was whispering my full name over and over again in a voice that sounded like my mother, except she's been dead for 4 years. I can't keep pretending this is something I can just run from. I've tried every way out. I've moved. I've stayed at other people's homes. I've destroyed electronics. I even drove across the border into Canada once and tried to stay off the grid in some dusty motel that looked like a set from a found footage film. It didn't matter. They found me. They always do. It was the day after I watched the VHS tape of myself in the rabbit mask that things shifted. I thought I had seen the worst already. I hadn't. That night, the power in my entire building went out. Not just mine. Every single unit. Elevator stopped working. All lights gone. Phones dead. Wi-Fi crashed. That's when the knocking started. Not at my front door. At my bedroom window. 3rd floor. No fire escape. No ledge. Just air. But the sound was real. Heavy. Measured. Like a metronome for the damned. 3 knocks. Silence. 3 knocks. Then a voice. From outside. Not yelling. Just speaking. Calm. Chilling. Crisp. Almost like it was being read from a script. Spectator 12. Performance due. Awaiting compliance. Submit or be collected. The voice didn't come from a person. It came from a speaker, like someone holding a megaphone 10 inches from the glass. Except when I peeked through the blinds, nothing was there. Nothing but air. The next morning, I found a box in the hallway outside my door. No note this time. No return address. Inside, a severed finger. Fresh. Human. blood still wet, wrapped in an envelope marked with the same symbol I saw on the van's windshield weeks ago. The spiral, with the eye in the center. Under the finger was a single photo. It showed a man, early 20s, shaved head, wearing a Rick and Morty hoodie. He was sitting in front of a computer, his eyes gouged out, but still open, mouth stitched into a smile with what looked like fishing line. On the back of the photo, someone had written, "This is Spectator 11. He tried to turn off the feed. I tried to call someone. Anyone. I even used a burner phone I bought at 7-Eleven just to make sure it wasn't my device being tracked. The number I dialed didn't matter. No matter what I called, 911, my brother, even Domino's, I got the same answer. A woman's voice. Calm. Robotic. Like it was coming from one of those text-to-speech generators, but off somehow. Like it was smiling while speaking. We're sorry. All lines have been disconnected. There is only the broadcast now." That's when the hallucinations started. At least, I think they were hallucinations. I started seeing people that shouldn't be there. In crowds, at the gas station, in the window of a passing bus. They all had the same face. No matter the gender, the age, the skin tone. Same face. Gray skin, hollow, empty sockets. A wide vertical mouth that stretched from ear to ear, too big to belong to a human. No teeth, just rows of tiny twitching fingers inside. And when they smiled, it made a sound, like an old VHS rewinding at full volume, layered under children laughing backwards. I stayed locked in my apartment for 48 hours straight, blacked out all the windows, taped my phone to the ceiling so I could see if the camera turned on by itself, removed every mirror, unplugged every smart device, covered the TV in a sheet. But I forgot about the fridge camera. Some newer fridges have them built in now to track your food or let you peek inside with your phone. I forgot mine had one. Didn't even use it. Never linked it to anything. It recorded footage on its own. I found the file saved under the label, "Hunger will make you accept." It showed me, standing in the kitchen at 3:33 a.m., eating raw meat directly off the shelves, ripping into steak and chicken with my bare hands, chewing through plastic wrap, face smeared in red. Except, I'm vegetarian. Last night was the worst. Worse than the girl in the chair. Worse than the photo. Worse than the knocking. At exactly 2 a.m., my bedroom light turned on. The rabbit mask was sitting in my desk chair, facing the wall. I didn't put it there. It had something in its lap. A VHS tape. My name on the label. Handwritten in black marker. Just my name. Underneath it was a note. Final performance. Broadcast required. The others are watching. Smile. Or they'll make you. I turned around for 1 second. When I looked back, the chair was empty, and the mask was on my bed. The van is still parked outside. Only now, it's not alone. There's a second van, and a third. Every day, one more shows up. No plates, no sound. Just sitting there, idling, like predators in park. The last time I looked out my window, all three of them had their headlights aimed directly at my building, blinking, in unison. Morse code. I looked it up. They're spelling out one word. Watch. I'm writing this now with red duct tape over my laptop camera and white noise blasting from a looped file I downloaded from some obscure occult server just to jam the frequencies. I don't know if it works. I don't know if anything can work. But if you're reading this, if you're still following this story, you've already been added. You're not a reader anymore. You're a spectator. and you will be asked to perform. The broadcast doesn't end with me. It ends when the final viewer stops breathing. Just say the word, but don't look behind you when you do. If you're still here, if you're still breathing, close the door, turn off the lights, tape your camera, lock every window, because what I'm about to tell you is not a story. It's a feed. And the second your eyes land on these words, you've tuned in. I'm not writing to warn you anymore. There's no way out. This is the final broadcast. It happened last night. The end of whatever life I thought I had. It began with a sound I will never be able to describe fully, because it was felt, not heard. Like an engine made of bone revving inside my skull. Like someone scraping knives against a piano wire that stretched across the back of my brain. It made my teeth ache. It made my stomach twist, like something was moving in there that wasn't supposed to be alive. That's when the walls started to bleed. Not metaphorically. I mean the actual drywall of my apartment began leaking a thick, black-red sludge that moved. It pulsed with rhythm, like it was pumping from a heart somewhere inside the building. The stench was so strong, it coated my tongue with rot and copper, like 1,000 dead animals stacked in the walls and left to scream silently. I ran to the hallway, but the hallway wasn't there anymore. Instead, it was just rows and rows of TVs, old CRTs mounted on flesh-covered shelves, all flickering, all live feeds. Every screen was showing me, not the current me, different versions of me. Me as a child, drawing spirals on the walls with crayons. Me in my 20s, gouging out my own eyes with a spoon. Me in a straitjacket. Me in a mask. Me in a basement chair, crying while the screen zoomed closer and closer until it showed a message carved into my forehead. Broadcast never ends. And then I heard the sound of the door unlocking. I didn't move it. I didn't touch it. But the deadbolt twisted. Slowly. The chain rattled loose. The knob turned with a moan like the throat of something dying. I stood in the center of my apartment with a knife in one hand and a lighter in the other. I don't know why I thought either would help. Fire doesn't scare something that bleeds signal, something that feeds on viewership. When the door opened, there was no hallway, just a set, a studio, lit with flickering overheads, gaffer tape marking spots on the floor, boom mics hanging over rusted chairs, and a camera, a massive, ancient broadcast camera, fused into a metal skeleton that still breathed through hissing, meat-covered vents. Standing beside it was the rabbit-masked thing, but this time it wasn't alone. There were more, at least a dozen of them, all in different masks. A cracked porcelain doll, a deer with no eyes, a smiling sun with human teeth, all silent, all twitching, all watching, and at the front of them was something far worse. It had no face, no body, just a massive screen suspended in the air, made of static and teeth, floating where a head should be, with hundreds of camera lenses embedded in a long, worm-like spine that coiled through the air and clicked with every breath. The screen displayed my search history, my texts, my Google Maps location history, photos I deleted, conversations I never had out loud, dreams I never told anyone about, thoughts I never finished thinking. It said one word: smile. They dragged me inside. The studio had no doors, just corridors lined with screaming speakers and glass boxes, each one with a spectator inside. People in different states of performance. Some were laughing until their faces tore open. Others sat with mouths sewn shut, twitching violently under strobe lights. One woman just stared at the wall, whispering, They're recording, over and over, until her tongue unraveled like tape and fell onto the floor in long, wet ribbons. They strapped me to the chair. The same one from all the videos. Same room, same metal table, same light swaying above. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. The screen did it for them. This is Spectator 12's final broadcast. Thank you for your loyalty. You may now perform. The rabbit mask was placed in my lap. Still wet. Still warm. I didn't move. I couldn't. But the screen kept showing faces. Yours. Mine. Faces of people reading this. Watching. Listening. One by one. As if the story wasn't being told to you. It was being told through you. The static grew louder until I felt it behind my eyes. Until I couldn't think anymore. Until something crawled down my throat and pulled out my voice. And then, the feed cut. Just for a second. Black screen. No sound. Then the message appeared. Welcome, Spectator 13. Now it's your turn. You think it's over. It isn't. Close the tab. Walk away. Burn your phone. Switch off your Wi-Fi. None of it matters. You've been seen, you've been selected, and the vans are already on their way. Don't answer the knock. Don't pick up the call that rings twice. And whatever you do, if you find a rabbit mask on your pillow tonight, don't put it on, because once you do, the broadcast doesn't just want you to watch, it wants you to speak. My dad used to work for the FAA. After his funeral, I found a dark web forum where users shared flight paths of UFOs. One of them matches the flight I'm taking tomorrow. Alright, this is probably gonna sound insane, but I swear on everything I love, this is 100% real. I'm not some edgy teenager trying to get karma or make a creepy story. I'm a 25-year-old guy living in Denver, and until recently, I worked remote for a pretty boring IT job. That was until, well, you'll see. So, to start from the beginning, my dad died last month. Yeah, sucks, I know. It was sudden. Heart attack while watching some History Channel UFO documentary. The irony? He worked for the FAA for almost 30 years. He was super secretive about his job too, like weirdly secretive. Anytime I asked what exactly he did, he'd just smile and say, nothing that exciting, mostly paperwork. He had that kind of dad energy where you feel like he probably knew some stuff, but he'd rather die than admit anything cool. Well, he did die. And after the funeral, super small, mostly family, and a few of his retired co-workers, I was helping clean out his house. Right? He was a single dad, lived alone since mom passed away years ago. While I was going through his office, I found this super old ThinkPad laptop, like early 2000s old, thick as a brick. It was in a locked drawer, but he literally left the key taped underneath the desk, like a Scooby-Doo villain. Now, here's where it starts getting weird. The laptop booted up, surprisingly fast for a dinosaur. It had no Wi-Fi, no antivirus, and only one folder on the desktop called FL209 restricted. Naturally, I opened it. Inside were dozens of text files. Some had GPS coordinates. Others had long, boring government-type names like INTAIROBSNV1997 or ACTUALSIGHTINGCROSSCHECK12. But the creepiest one was just called November 4th, 2025, Denver to Tokyo, confirmed. That's my flight. I'm supposed to fly out tomorrow to Tokyo. It's a trip I planned with my girlfriend months ago for her birthday. We've been hyped for it forever. Starbucks vlogs, Shibuya at night, Real ramen, you know the dream. But this file, it had my exact flight number. I cross-checked with the United Airlines app just to be sure. Inside the file was this short text. I saved it, and here's what it said, word for word. Confirmed object intercept. Flight U A1537/11/42025/ expected contact point 37.2919 degrees north, 179.0059 degrees west, over Pacific. Do not engage. Eyes only. It read like a warning, but that GPS location, it's in the middle of the freaking ocean, right along the flight path from Denver to Tokyo. At this point, I figured maybe it was a coincidence. Like maybe Dad tracked flight paths and made up stories for fun. But there was more. On the laptop's desktop, there was a weird shortcut labeled Access Nix. Clicking it didn't do anything at first. It just opened up a terminal window, started spitting out gibberish code. Then boom, suddenly, I was looking at a login screen for a Tor-like browser. Now listen, I'm not some hacker or Mr. Robot guy. I've messed around on Reddit, watched some iceberg YouTube videos, but I never actually went on the deep web. But this thing, it wasn't the regular Tor browser. The UI looked like it hadn't been updated since Windows XP. The homepage was this black screen with a blinking cursor and one line of text. Enter clearance string. I sat there thinking, what the hell even is a clearance string? Then I remembered, my dad used to keep everything in old school paper format. I dug through the drawers again and found a faded post-it inside a manila envelope that said, Nix key, Falcon Echo X, 9 number sign. Typed it in. The screen glitched, blinked a few times, then loaded a forum called Blackgate, Restricted Air Activity and Anomaly Reporting Forum. No joke. It looked like an early 2000s message board. Black background, neon blue text. There were boards labeled UAP sightings, log flight, cross-check, database, intercept zones, shadow echoes, whatever that means, lost flights. I clicked on flight cross-check database. There were threads for specific flights. Some were just weird strings of numbers. Others were dated and labeled things like MH370, cross-ref with actual echo, flight 828, sim jump data, classified pattern confirmed, Berlin airspace lock, red window match. But then I found my flight, UA1537, November 4th, 2025, Denver, Tokyo, reported. I clicked it. There were comments under it. Again, all looked like creepy usernames straight out of a horror game. Echolock 74, Watcher Delta, Ground Eyes Only. One comment from Echolock 74 said, confirm, Vanta class UAP, shadow trails observed in adjacent route. Maintain passenger blackout. Expect comm interference. Post 10-hour mark. Another one from Watcher Delta simply said, do not fly. Bro, I don't even know what the hell a Vanta class UAP is. I googled it. Nothing legit comes up. Just some conspiracy Reddit threads. But that phrase, passenger blackout, haunted me. Like, is that some kind of cover-up? What the hell does expect comm interference mean? I told my girlfriend. She thinks I'm being paranoid. Said maybe my dad was just deep into some Reddit rabbit hole and was playing with weird roleplay forums before he passed. And trust me, I want to believe her. But that site wasn't accessible from any browser. I tried logging in again on a different device. No dice. The laptop seems hardwired to this Blackgate thing. And this morning, things got weirder. I got a notification from Instagram. An anonymous account tagged me in a story. No followers, no posts. The story was just a black screen with white text. Turn off your phone before takeoff. We'll be there. I don't follow this account. It's not public. I tried to report it, and it disappeared before I could click. Now I'm sitting here, suitcase packed, passport ready, and my stomach's in knots. I don't know what to do. I didn't even want to post this, but I needed someone to tell me I'm not going crazy. So yeah, I board in less than 24 hours, and I have no idea if I'm flying into Tokyo or into something else. Alright, buckle up. I honestly don't care if this gets taken down or flagged. I don't care if anyone believes me anymore. This isn't for you. This is the only way I can process what happened up there. I shouldn't be alive. This isn't one of those edgy Reddit posts where someone says that for drama. I mean, I should have never walked off that plane. Because what happened on UA 1537, it wasn't turbulence. It wasn't a weather anomaly. It wasn't even human. And I have no idea how I'm even here typing this. I don't even remember landing. But let me walk you through everything from the start, minute by minute. I don't want to forget a single second. No one should. We boarded at 9:45 a.m. Denver International, Terminal C. If you've ever been to DIA, you know how weird that airport feels already. Those horse statues, the murals, the underground tunnels people joke about. Yeah, turns out the jokes aren't that funny once you've seen what's really under the clouds. The boarding process felt normal, except one thing. There was a man sitting by the gate alone, reading a book upside down, like literally upside down, and not like he was distracted. He was flipping pages as if he knew what he was doing. He wore a black trench coat, long, too long for this time of year, and black gloves. He never looked up, not when the boarding group was called, not when a little girl tripped next to him. Nothing. I joked to my girlfriend, "Okay, Slender Man's uncle's flying with us," and she just gave me that don't start look. I should have listened to my gut. Once we got to our seats, row 34, seats A and B, I noticed something else. The cabin was quiet. I don't mean peaceful quiet. I mean dead silence. No babies crying, no chatter. Not even the engine hum felt right. The kind of silence where your ears ring trying to fill the void. It was like the air was being sucked out of the plane. I chalked it up to nerves. I hadn't slept in over 24 hours because I kept refreshing that damn Blackgate forum, trying to see if anything new was posted. It wasn't. Just that same warning. Do not fly. But I flew. The first 4 hours were okay. Normal. They served us snacks, the Wi-Fi sucked, and the flight map showed us moving steadily across the US toward the Pacific. Around hour 5, things started bending. The lights flickered. Once, then twice. A weird chime came over the speakers, but it wasn't the normal ding you hear for seatbelts or announcements. It sounded like metal scraping against itself. Slow, like the groaning of something waking up. Then the turbulence started, except the plane wasn't shaking. The windows were. I know how crazy that sounds, but swear on everything, the glass itself was vibrating while the tray tables didn't move an inch. I pressed my hand against the window, and it felt hot, like touching a laptop that's been overheating for hours. My girlfriend asked if I was okay. I nodded. I wasn't. At hour 6, the flight map glitched. I have a photo. I'll post it if they let me. The little plane icon just stopped mid-ocean. The text underneath it changed from estimated time remaining 6:22 to just unknown zone. and then it went black. An announcement finally came over the intercom, but it wasn't the pilot. It was a voice I'll never forget. Deep, not masculine, not human. It was like someone or something was imitating a human voice. Like when an A tries to sound real, but can't quite get the emotion right. The voice said, "Passengers of flight 1537, remain in your seats. Do not attempt to record. Do not open your eyes. Observation will commence shortly." People looked around, confused. No one moved. Then the light shut off. Full cabin blackout. And for the next hour, we were trapped in utter darkness. Not pitch black, emptiness. Like the space around us just stopped existing. Then it happened. We started ascending, hard, like gravity was pressing us into our seats. My ears popped 5 times. The pressure in the cabin went wild. People started screaming, not like movie screaming. This was guttural, animal, like people were feeling something that didn't belong in the human brain. The walls of the plane stretched, literally, like rubber. I swear the aisle felt longer, like rows were doubling in front of us, even though we never moved. Then came the light, but it didn't come from outside. It came from inside the other passengers. It started with a guy 2 rows ahead of us, middle-aged, business type. He began glowing under his skin, like someone injected a flashlight into his veins. He started coughing violently. Then his head snapped to the side. His mouth opened, and a sound came out that made my stomach turn inside out. It wasn't screaming. It was a language. But no one should speak like that. His voice sounded reversed, like a cassette tape played backward, layered with insect clicking and a bass frequency that made the whole cabin vibrate. He stood up, eyes rolled back, and said something I can't forget, even if I wanted to. "They're watching through us." Then his chest caved in, not exploded, collapsed, like something sucked him from the inside. Blood didn't spray, it just disappeared. No splatter, just gone. Clothes dropped to the floor like a puppet cut from strings. More followed. One by one, passengers stood, spoke in that backwoods insect language, then crumpled into empty shells. No one knew what to do. Some prayed. Some tried to break windows. One guy pulled the emergency door latch. He vanished into static. Not wind, not sky. Static. Like TV fuzz. Like he'd become part of a signal. That's when I realized. We weren't flying anymore. We were being carried. I looked out the window. I wish I hadn't. Outside was a structure. Massive. Angular. Not metallic. Organic. Like bone carved into impossible shapes. Veins the size of highways pulsed across it, glowing deep red. Above us, I saw faces. Not alien. Not human. Just eyes. Thousands. Millions. Each one shaped differently. Watching. Studying. Blinking out of sync. They were learning from us. And then came the worst part. The announcement returned. Observation concluded. Remaining specimens, 37. I looked around. The plane had over 200 people at takeoff. Now, seats were empty. Clothes still folded neatly. Shoes, glasses, a baby's bottle. But no people. Just 37 of us left. The plane shuddered. Light flickered back on. No one screamed. We were past that. We landed in Tokyo, or what looked like Tokyo. The plane taxied in, gate opened, and we were escorted off by ground staff who looked wrong, smiling too much, standing too still, eyes that didn't blink. No one asked questions. No one spoke. We walked into the terminal, silent like puppets. There were no cameras, no TSA, no noise. My girlfriend didn't speak for 3 days. She won't talk about what she saw in the dark. I logged back into the Blackgate forum as soon as we got Wi-Fi. Our flight was gone. The thread deleted. My access revoked. Only one message popped up. You were not chosen. Do not speak again. But I am, because someone has to. You may think this was a dream, that I had a psychotic break, but I have photos, videos, voice memos, the things that shouldn't exist, and the number of passengers on your next flight. Double check it, because they're not here for the plane. They're here for us. If you've made it this far, I need you to understand something. What I'm about to tell you wasn't meant to be remembered. We weren't supposed to live. We weren't supposed to come back. And the part that still keeps me up at night, some of us did. When we landed in Tokyo, the 37 of us that remained walked off like ghosts. Not one word, not one question. I kept looking at their faces, vacant, like they left something behind up there, like their eyes were just there for decoration now. My girlfriend Emily hadn't spoken since we touched ground. Not a whisper, not even a blink when I said her name. She just held my hand, tight, too tight. We didn't go to our hotel. We didn't even leave the terminal, because that's when they found us. 2 men in jet black suits met us just outside baggage claim. No logos, no badges, no airline tags. They were tall, like wrong tall. You know when someone's limbs just look a little too long, like their bones were stretched? One of them had no eyebrows. The other blinked with both eyes out of sync, like one lid moved before the other. They didn't speak. They just handed us each a small white envelope. Inside mine was a single card. Gate 33B, 1:11 a.m. That's it. No airline, no flight number, nothing. They didn't force us. We just went. Because somewhere deep in our bones, we knew what would happen if we didn't. Tokyo International Airport doesn't have a Gate 33B. Look it up. It goes up to Gate 32. But at exactly 1:08 a.m., something changed. Every screen in the terminal glitched, just for a second. Like static jumped through the air. The Starbucks logo above the cafe nearby blinked into a black circle, then back again. No one else noticed. Everyone else, the normal passengers, just kept walking like nothing happened. But we saw it. At the far end of the terminal, a door appeared. I'm not exaggerating. A wall opened, like it unfolded itself out of nothing, and revealed a long, flickering hallway with one flickering overhead light and a red sign, Gate 33B. The smell hit us instantly, like burnt metal, copper, and something else, something rotten. It reminded me of a dead animal I found under my porch as a kid. That sweet, sticky rot that never really leaves your nostrils. But we walked, because again, this wasn't about choice. This was punishment. Gate 33. B was cold, not like air-conditioned cold, like Earth doesn't exist here cold. The walls weren't drywall. They were some kind of pulsating material that looked alive. I ran my hand across it, and it twitched, like it didn't like being touched. Inside, there were no chairs, no windows, no people, except one. The upside-down bookman, same trench coat, same gloves, but this time, he looked up. His eyes, they weren't human, they weren't glowing, or alien, or anything sci-fi like that. They were mirrors, like actual polished mirrors. And when I looked into them, I didn't see myself. I saw a version of me, older, hair gone, eyes wide open, screaming, locked in some kind of metal room, slamming my fists against the wall. He smiled, and then he spoke in that backwards language we heard on the flight. Only this time, I understood every word. You crossed the sky mouth. You were watched. Now you are marked. I asked him what that meant. He didn't answer. Instead, he handed me a boarding pass. An actual one this time. Paper. But the ink, it bled when I touched it. It said, Passenger, Observer, 13, Destination, Eidolon, Tethergate, 33, B, non-reversible, time, irrelevant. Then he looked at Emily, and something snapped. Her neck tilted sideways like a marionette, and she started walking forward like she was being pulled by strings. I screamed. I tried to stop her. The floor opened up, not like a trapdoor, like a wound tearing through the tiles. It was all teeth, endless rows of them, and a whispering wind rose from it, carrying thousands of voices, chanting our names backwards over and over. Emily looked at me once. She smiled and stepped in. The floor closed, just sealed up like nothing happened. The trench coat man looked at me and said, She was chosen. You were not. I lost it. I screamed. I shoved him. I tried to claw the wall open, but everything felt hollow, like I was punching through fog. And then the light shut off. Total darkness. When it came back on, I was sitting in the Starbucks. Same chair, same coffee I ordered 12 hours before. My phone was at 10%. No notifications, no missed calls. Emily, gone. Not just gone like missing. I mean erased. No photos of her on my phone. No texts, no posts, no trace. I checked her Instagram. Account doesn't exist. Her TikTok, deleted. Our shared Spotify playlist, renamed Echo Unfound. I went back to the gate we landed at. It didn't exist. The flight number we took, UA1537, was never listed on the arrivals board. United Airlines has no record of it. It's like it was never there. But the worst part, when I finally logged back into my laptop back home, against everything in my body telling me not to, I found a new folder. Not from me. It was just called recording33b.mkv. I opened it. It's me, sitting in a metal room, screaming, slamming my fists on the walls, exactly like what I saw in that man's eyes. I'm still screaming. I don't blink. I don't stop. The file never ends. It's still recording. I don't know how long I've got left. Sometimes I hear static in my ears when I sleep. Sometimes I see a flash of her smile in mirrors, but her eyes are gone. Sometimes my phone vibrates and there's no message. And once, just once, I opened my camera by accident and saw my face. Only it wasn't me. It was Mirror Me, the one that never stopped screaming. They're not done with me yet. And if you see gate 33B, don't go near it. You don't walk out with memories. You walk out with something watching through your eyes. It's been 17 days since I returned. 17 nights of waking up to the same sound. Flesh slapping glass. It's always 3 taps. Never more. Never less. I've thrown every mirror out of my apartment. Covered every reflective surface with duct tape and black cloth. But it doesn't stop them. Not anymore. Even my phone screen, even the puddles outside after rain, reflect things that shouldn't be looking back at me. I think something followed me through gate 33B. I don't think I'm the same person who boarded that flight. And I know for a fact, I'm not the only one, because people are disappearing, but it's not like they vanish in the street or in a puff of smoke. They vanish mid-conversation, mid-sentence, mid-breath. It started with the barista at the 24-hour Starbucks down the street from my place. Jason, super chill dude, always remembered my order. I was grabbing coffee at 2 a.m., couldn't sleep, and I noticed his reflection in the glass. behind the counter wasn't moving right. He turned his head, but the reflection didn't. It just kept staring at me. I blinked, and he was gone. No sound, no scream. His clothes folded neatly on the floor behind the register. Headset still playing lo-fi jazz. No one around me even reacted. When I asked the girl next in line where Jason went, she looked at me like I was speaking another language and said, "There's no Jason here, sir. There never was." Her eyes were mirrors. I ran home, tried to find his Instagram. Gone. Facebook. Nothing. His old selfies from 5 days ago were now blank backgrounds, just floating coffee cups. Captions like, "Jason killing it this morning," with no one in the frame. They're rewriting reality. They're editing us out. And I think whatever's doing this, it's still tethered to me. Through my reflection. Through that file I found. Recording 33b.mkv. I tried deleting it. Didn't work. I tried wiping the hard drive. Still there. I smashed the laptop with a hammer until the battery exploded and the screen went black. The next morning, the laptop was sitting on my kitchen counter, perfectly clean, charged, open, file still there, still playing, still screaming. A few nights ago, I made the worst mistake of my life. I opened the video at 3:33 a.m., paused it, frame 247,121. It showed me, sitting in that metal room, same position, same desperation, but something was behind me. It was her, Emily, only not her. Her face was split open vertically, like a peeled orange, eyes missing, mouth opened far too wide. Her tongue was typing on a floating keypad made of teeth. Each tap made a sound like a baby's giggle and a dying animal at the same time. She was updating the file. She was adding new names. Mine was still at the top, but under it were 6 more. People I know I've passed in real life. A guy from my gym, the girl who bags my groceries, the old man who walks his corgi in front of my building. They're next. One of the names, Sandra Walsh, 55, flashed red. That's my neighbor. I ran upstairs. Her apartment door was open, lights off, TV playing static. I walked in, calling her name. No answer. Then I saw her, standing completely still in front of her bathroom mirror, staring. Only she wasn't moving, not blinking, not breathing, but her reflection was. It was screaming, not audibly, silently, just a constant mouth wide open, jaw locked, vibrating horror that looked like it was begging me to help. I took one step forward, and Sandra's body collapsed like wet paper. No blood, no bones, just a deflated skin suit, still warm. I looked back at the mirror, and her reflection was still standing, watching me, mouth closed, smiling. I reported it. Cops came, took her body, ruled it a heart attack. They didn't even question how her teeth were fused together in a solid block of calcium, or how her lungs were missing entirely. When I asked to see the security footage from the hallway cams, the officer told me, and I quote, "There's no such unit in this building. No resident named Sandra Walsh." He was wearing a watch with no hands. His eyes? Mirrors. I've been tracking the file ever since. It updates daily now, not just with names, but with footage. It shows other flights, other people sitting silently as reality fractures around them. It showed a little boy sitting in the cockpit of a Delta flight, playing with the controls as the sky outside turned inside out. It showed a woman in full airline uniform screaming in binary code as she was strapped down to a medical table made of teeth. They're testing things, observing outcomes, watching reactions, and now they're leaking through. Every screen, every camera lens, Every goddamn reflection in every puddle, every bathroom, every selfie. I tried posting about this on Reddit last night. Account banned in seconds. New account? Auto banned. New device. Shut down instantly. They're inside the signal. They're modifying perception. I booked a session with a therapist thinking maybe I was going crazy. I needed someone, anyone, to talk to. First session was over Zoom. She introduced herself as Dr. Levenstein. Super kind voice. Soft lighting in her office. But behind her, on her wall, was a frame. And inside that frame was me. Me, from the metal room, still screaming. She asked me to open up, to talk about what I'd seen. I asked her how long she'd been watching me. She smiled and said, "Since before your father died." I froze. I never told her about my dad, never mentioned him. Not in my file, not in my intake call, not once. She leaned forward and said something that finally made me vomit for the first time in years. We gave him his wings. He watched, too. He lasted longer than you will. I smashed my laptop. Again. I ripped my TV off the wall. I poured bleach into my sink to keep the reflections at bay. None of it worked. I'm rotting. My fingernails have started falling off. My blood smells metallic and sings when it hits the drain. I caught my own shadow moving in a different direction than I did 2 nights ago. And just now, I opened the door to my apartment, and there was a boarding pass sitting on the floor. It says, "Return flight confirmed. Passenger, observer, 13 gate 33B. Time, now." There's something standing in the hallway, wearing my face, holding Emily's severed hand like a carry-on. It's time to go back. But before I do, I need you to understand something. There is no FAA. There are no airlines. There are only routes. And you, yes, you're on one right now. You think your life is yours? You think your face belongs to you? Look in the mirror. Longer, longer. There it is. It blinked before you did. I wasn't supposed to be able to write this. If you're reading this right now, I need you to understand that what you see below isn't just text. It's not words on a screen. It's a leak, a breach. This isn't a story anymore. It's a transmission. Because after I accepted the return ticket, after I touched that paper that wasn't made of anything earthly, I boarded the flight back to where they came from. And I never really came back. I don't know what day it is anymore. Clocks don't work here. Time is wet. It slides. It drips. It's loud when it wants to be, and dead silent when you beg for it to move. The gate wasn't in an airport this time. It was in the alley behind my building. 3:33 a.m. Cold fog. Smelled like burnt hair and ammonia. I heard laughing teeth. There was a door where the brick wall should have been, not attached to anything, just standing there, wooden, rotted, with a brass handle that throbbed when I touched it. Behind it, the plane, but not like before. There were no seats, no aisles, just a long, endless corridor made of stitched together airplane fuselages, different makes, models, colors, all fused together with black wire and chunks of bone. Every few feet, an oxygen mask hung down, but the masks didn't have air hoses, just long, black tongues, writhing, waiting. I walked for what felt like hours, saw people I recognized. A teacher from middle school, her face gone, replaced with a flat slab of laminated boarding passes. My childhood dog, alive, barking at a window that showed my mother's funeral. Only this time, I was the one in the coffin. None of this was metaphorical. This is how they talk. This is how they remember. By wearing us, the plane thinks. It's not a vessel. It's not transportation. It's a brain. a moving archive of every terrible thing ever thought mid-flight. Do you remember turbulence? That sudden drop that wakes you up gasping. That wasn't air pressure. That was it feeding. Every time you feel that, it's tasting your fear, cataloging it, filing it away so it can be replayed later, like a greatest hits compilation of your most helpless moments. I found a room where they keep them, rows and rows of passenger heads, mounted like trophies, eyes sewn open with spiderweb thin wires. Every few seconds, one of them twitches, their mouths move. They whisper things they saw out the window, things we're not evolved enough to understand. One whispered, "The sky has pores." They opened when we passed. Another muttered, "I saw my birth from the outside. My mother wasn't human." And a third, just repeating, "This isn't a flight, it's a contraction. We're being born backwards." I ran, but running doesn't do anything here. I found her again. Emily. Only now, her body was split vertically into two perfect halves, hovering on opposite walls, still connected by nerves, twitching in sync. Her face moved. Her mouth tried to form words. Her voice came from the ceiling. "You didn't leave. You only woke up inside them." Then her hands reached from both walls and clapped, as if applauding a punchline, and the plane screamed. The whole thing, every surface. The walls rippled. The floor tried to chew me. The exit signs began bleeding. That's when the passengers arrived. Hundreds, all naked, all smiling, no eyes, just mirrored sockets reflecting distorted versions of my face. They began reciting safety instructions in a loop. In the event of a loss of cabin pressure, breathe in your lost memory. Breathe out your first lie. Your seat cushion is a false sense of comfort. Use it to float in denial. If you hear crying behind the cockpit door, ignore it. The pilot is being reassembled. Then they pulled out airline meals, cold trays, but instead of food, each one held a memory I had forgotten, things I didn't even know I knew. The time I buried my childhood hamster alive because I wanted to see what it felt like. The face of a stranger I saw die in a crash when I was 5 and never told anyone. The smell of my dad's skin when he came home late, covered in something that wasn't jet fuel. They ate them, slowly, smiling wider with each bite. I finally reached the cockpit. There was no door, just a hole, jagged, breathing. I crawled in. The pilot's chair was occupied by me, not screaming this time. Calm, empty. He turned and looked at me. His eyes were open suitcases. Inside each were VHS tapes, one labeled Final Transmission, the other, Never Stop Watching. He didn't speak. He just handed me a mirror, cracked, dirty, and in it I saw every single person I had ever known, lined up like passengers, waiting for me to board. I dropped the mirror. It didn't hit the floor. It hit the ocean, and the plane crashed. I woke up in my bed, just like that. No wounds, no damage, no sign I had ever left. But when I looked in the mirror above my dresser, I was wearing the pilot's uniform, and my reflection wasn't following me anymore. It was ahead of me, moving first. Since then, I've been seeing them, not just in mirrors now, in videos, in photos, people with faces just slightly off, celebrities with blinking teeth in the corner of their smiles, TikToks that auto-delete but leave behind audio distortions, Instagram filters that show the wrong background, one live stream from a McDonald's in New Zealand where the drive-through speaker started repeating a woman's last breath over and over until the stream went black. They're everywhere now. The breach wasn't in the plane. It was in me. I went to the airport this morning. Not to fly, just to see. And there it was. Gate 33. B, open, real. And passengers were going in. Families, children, couples with neck pillows, tired business people, all stepping through like it was nothing. I tried to warn one guy, grabbed his arm, told him, "Don't go in there. It's not a flight. It's an autopsy of your soul." He smiled, leaned in, and whispered, "I've already been." His face peeled backwards, like a hoodie being pulled off, and inside was nothing, just a blinking cursor. I'm uploading this to every platform I can before it's too late, because once you see them, really see them, they start recording you. There's a sound file embedded in your phone right now. You won't find it, but it's there. Buried under apps you never downloaded. It's recording every blink, every moment you stand in front of a reflective surface and don't flinch. And soon, you'll hear that chime, the scraping one, like metal teeth being sharpened, and the announcement will play. This is your final boarding call. Observation complete. Commencing integration. Your phone screen will go black. Your windows will frost over from the inside. And someone, something, will knock on your mirror 3 times. And the next time you blink, you won't be blinking. You'll be watching. A dark web forum was discussing a sleepwalking virus created by the CDC. One user claimed it was the first symptom of hybrid rejection. Yo, what's up, Reddit? Throwaway account here because, well, I don't want to be tied to this. I don't even know if I should be posting this, but I can't keep it to myself anymore. If something happens to me after this, at least someone will know what went down. This isn't a troll. This isn't a story. This is exactly what happened. Believe me or not, that's on you. So for context, I'm 21. I live just outside of Chicago, in one of those boring-ass suburbs where nothing really happens. I go to community college, work part-time at a Starbucks, and spend way too much time on Discord and YouTube watching horror story channels like Here's My Story, Mr. Nightmare, and that one dude, Luna, who tells wild stories that sound fake, but you want to believe them. That's kinda what inspired me to write this out. Now, I'm no tech genius or hacker or anything, but I've always had this weird curiosity about the deep web. You know, like that part of the internet you're not supposed to mess with. There's always those stories of people finding hitmen for hire sites, illegal auctions, creepy live streams, whatever. I never wanted to see that, but something in me just wanted to poke around. So one night, this was maybe 4 months ago, I was bored out of my mind. Couldn't sleep. It was like 3:47 a.m., I remember, because I looked at the clock when the power flickered, which was weird in itself because it wasn't storming or anything. I was in my room, headphones on, half watching TikToks and half scrolling Reddit, when I got a random Discord message from a user named PH4GEDWN. Never seen the username before. No mutual servers, no profile pic, nothing. Just a message that said, "You're not ready for what's coming, but you can watch. You're already infected anyway." I was like, okay, either this is some dumb LARPing crap, or someone's trying to scare me. I responded with LOL okay buddy, and blocked the dude. Didn't think much of it. That's when weird stuff started happening. The next day, my phone alarm didn't go off, which was weird because I never forget to set it. I woke up late for work and had like 3 missed calls from my manager. Then my laptop wouldn't turn on until I pulled the battery out. My YouTube homepage was messed up too. Like it kept recommending me videos with 0 views and strange titles like "They're waking up now." Sleep isn't safe anymore. CDC cover-up, Truth 2025. I clicked on one, just curious, and the video was literally 10 seconds long. Black screen. Then a robotic voice whispered, "The virus isn't viral, it's designed. Look at their eyes." I closed the tab immediately. Wasn't even scared at that point, just annoyed. That night, I went deeper. I'd installed the Tor browser months ago, but never used it. Just kept it there, for that maybe one day moment. Well, that moment came. I booted it up, followed some Onion directory links, ended up on a forum called Subvital. Looked old school, like early 2000s HTML, neon green text on black background, and the whole site was just weird. Half the threads were about like underground biotech stuff, rogue scientists, AI god theory, that kind of tinfoil hat madness. But one thread caught my eye. It was pinned to the top of the forum, titled "Somnambulum Stage 1 Symptoms." It had hundreds of replies. First post was from a user named sleepless.me, and it said, "CDC is compromised. They created a neural mimic virus meant for soldiers. It slipped into public circulation during Project BOREAL. First symptom? Sleepwalking. Not your usual type. People doing things in their sleep they shouldn't remember. That's not sleepwalking. That's stage 1. Hybrid rejection begins there. Stage 2 is when they stop waking up. Now, I've read my fair share of horror ARGs, so I figured this was just some creative writing stuff. But the thing that bugged me is, there were new replies. People talking about their family members sleepwalking and doing creepy shorty. One guy said his girlfriend had started sleepwalking 3 nights a week, and one night she stood over him holding a pair of scissors and whispered, "It's not her turn yet." Another user said he worked night shift at a McDonald's in Albuquerque and caught a regular customer standing in the corner of the dining room after close, just swaying like he was sleepwalking. Said the dude had blood dripping from his ears, but didn't react until he was physically shaken awake. I was halfway through reading when the lights in my room flickered again. Then my speakers, which were off, crackled and let out this high-pitched buzzing sound like a mosquito scream. My screen glitched, just for a second, like pixels tearing and rearranging, and then, swear on my life, my webcam light turned on. I don't even have it enabled. I never use it. I yanked the battery out of my laptop so fast, I almost cracked the screen. After that, I didn't sleep for like 2 days. Not because I was scared. Okay, maybe a little. But because I started getting nosebleeds. Just randomly. Like I'd be brushing my teeth and boom, blood dripping. One time I woke up with a trail of blood leading from my bedroom to the kitchen. No joke. It looked like I walked there in my sleep. And the scary part is, my feet were dirty, like I had walked outside. I checked my Ring doorbell cam footage, and there I was, 3:12 a.m., barefoot in pajamas, walking down the driveway. But my face was what got me. I wasn't blinking. I just stared forward. No emotion. Just this dead look in my eyes like I wasn't me. I haven't been the same since. Every night now, I wake up with scratches on my arms. My dog won't come near me after 2 a.m. I even caught him hiding under the bed once, trembling like there was a thunderstorm, but it was clear outside. I went back to that forum 2 days ago. It was gone. 404. No cached version, Nothing in the Wayback Machine. But one message appeared in my inbox. No sender, no subject, just one line. You're not sleepwalking. You're waking up. There's something that happens to your brain when you see someone die right in front of you, but not just die, fall apart. I'm not talking poetic. I mean it literally. Their body giving up on itself like a puppet with cut strings, but you can still see the eyes twitching, still see something in there, trying to scream, but the mouth won't move. That happened 5 feet in front of me, and it wasn't even the worst part. Let me back up. This happened exactly 6 nights after I got that message. You're not sleepwalking, you're waking up. I hadn't slept since then, not properly. I'd pass out for 20, 30 minutes at a time, but I'd wake up either somewhere else in the house or already standing. Twice, I woke up in the shower, water running ice cold, fully dressed. Once, I woke up in my car, in a different ZIP code. I checked my Snapchat map the next morning and saw my location history made this weird swirling loop about 5 miles outside of Chicago. Just empty roads, cornfields, train tracks. I don't even remember driving. I wanted to quit my job at Starbucks. I swear I did. But rent's rent, and I figured the buzz of people might help me stay sane. My shift was 4 p.m. to close. We were on Clark Street, pretty busy spot with foot traffic coming from the Red Line. It was a Tuesday, not super packed, but busy enough that time didn't crawl. I was on bar that night, making drinks, when this one dude came in. I remember because he didn't order anything. He just walked in, wearing a thick hoodie and these old, beat-up black jeans. Hood pulled way low, like covering most of his face, even though it was like 60 degrees out. Dude had this slow, dragging walk, like his legs were too heavy to move. I noticed his arms were twitching, not shaking like Parkinson's or something. I mean twitching. Sharp, jerky movements, like something was crawling under his skin, and he was trying to stop it without using his hands. My manager, Jess, called out from the register, "Sir, can I help you?" The usual tone we use for the weird ones. Dude didn't answer, just walked over to the pickup counter, right across from where I was finishing a mocha, and he stared at me. His hood dropped when he stopped, and I swear to God, his eyes, they were pure black, not like horror movie contact lenses, not like he'd painted them or anything. They weren't even shiny. It was like staring into holes, moving, breathing holes. His pupils dilated so wide, there was no white left, but they weren't lifeless either. They were looking through me, studying. I froze, cup half foamed, milk still hissing from the wand. Jess stepped around the counter. "Sir, you're going to need to leave." And that's when it happened. He collapsed, but it wasn't like he fainted or tripped. It was like he shut down. His legs bent at the wrong angle, knees inward. He hit the floor, arms smacking hard tile, and immediately started seizing. Violent, crunching spasms, like his bones were fighting each other. And then he screamed, but not like a person screams. It was this high-pitched animal wail, like the sound metal makes when it's tearing. Everyone in the cafe froze. Some backed out. Some started filming. I couldn't move. The dude was still seizing, but now his skin was changing. It started at his neck. Like ink under his skin, thick black veins bloomed outward like roots, crawling towards his face. His eyes rolled back, black still visible, and blood poured out of his nose and mouth. No coughing, just a steady stream, like something inside had ruptured. He reached out, convulsing, and grabbed Jess's ankle, She screamed and kicked, but not before he said it. Clear as day, like someone else speaking through him. I can't hold it in anymore. He's wearing me. Then he stopped moving. Right then, the power cut out. Lights, espresso machine, everything, all at once. Like the whole block blew a fuse. I looked down. He was gone. No body, no blood, nothing. I don't mean he got up and left. I mean 1 second he was right there on the floor, dead or dying, and then blink. Empty towel, like nothing happened. But Jess was still crying. On the floor. Her ankle had burn marks on it. Actual black burns in the shape of fingers. We closed early that night. Cops came, asked questions, reviewed the security footage. I made them let me watch it. And this is what I saw. Man walks in, stands at the pickup counter, collapses, screams, twitches, and then the camera feed skips 7 seconds, jumps from 19:04:12 to 19:04:19. When the feed comes back, there's no one on the floor. Jess is screaming. I'm standing frozen, but the man, never seen leaving. The officers didn't know what to do. They said maybe it was a prank, said maybe he had a seizure and ran out before they could respond, but they couldn't explain the burns, or the fact that the entire power grid on that block glitched out for exactly 7 seconds, the same duration as the missing footage. Jess quit the next day. Texted us she was hearing voices from inside her house, said she saw the man's face in her bathroom mirror, even when she wasn't looking directly into it. We haven't heard from her since. I checked her Instagram a few days later. Gone. Like, scrubbed. No trace. Not even tagged photos. Later that night, I found something under my fingernails. Black skin. Not dirt. Skin. Dead, flaky skin packed so deep under my nails it cracked when I tried to scrape it out. I haven't sleepwalked since the incident. Not exactly. But now, when I wake up, my feet are wet. Every morning. Not just damp. Soaked. Like I walked into a lake and came back out. And sometimes I smell smoke. Burnt bone. I check the hallway, the kitchen, everywhere. Nothing. But the scent sticks to my clothes. Like I've been somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. Then there was the package. It showed up 2 nights after the Starbucks incident. No return address. Just a small cardboard box, taped up like a gift from hell. Inside, a USB drive. Plain. No labels. Just the drive. And a sticky note. 1 word, scribbled in dried red ink. Stage 2. There's a moment where your brain tries to protect you. It's like a mental firewall. You see something so deeply wrong, so not human, and your mind will do anything to explain it away. That's just bad lighting. That's a costume. It's edited. But there's a point where even your own face becomes unrecognizable. And I passed that point the moment I plugged in that USB. Let me walk you through it. Every detail. I need someone else to know. Even if this ends with me missing or worse, someone needs to carry this with them. Because if this virus, if that's even what it is spreading the way I think it is, you're going to see what I saw. Eventually. The USB was small, matte black, no markings. I plugged it into my old Windows laptop, the one I barely use anymore. No Wi-Fi connected, no webcam, no mic. I didn't want this thing phoning home, if it even could. It contained exactly 1 file. You're here.mp4. It was a 6-minute video. No metadata, no codec info, nothing. Like it was encoded in a way normal software wasn't built to read. I had to run it through VLC just to open it. And when I did, I saw myself, standing in what looked like a dimly lit garage. Concrete floor, flickering overhead light. The footage was grainy, but I could tell it was me by the clothes, the tattoo on my forearm, even the scar on my lip from when I fell off my bike as a kid. It was me, but I wasn't awake. My eyes were closed, not like sleeping closed, like stitched shut, skin stretched unnaturally over the lids, like a membrane had grown to seal them. But I was moving, not clumsy, not robotic, deliberate. I walked over to what looked like a table. You couldn't see what was on it at first, just shadows. I reached down and the camera zoomed in. It was handheld. Someone was filming. That's when the audio cut in. At first, just static. Then whispers. Not language. Something that sounded like breathing reversed, hissing and layered. The kind of noise that makes your chest hurt when you hear it too long. Then the camera panned over. There was something on the table. I'm not going to lie. I wanted to puke. I can still see it when I close my eyes. It wasn't human, at least not completely. Parts of it looked like a person, a woman maybe? Long dark hair, one visible eye, pale skin, but the rest of it, the torso was split open like a gutted animal, but there were no organs, just rows and rows of teeth. Not just where the ribs should be, teeth all the way down. Like the inside of her was a mouth, twitching, biting at the air with slow, rhythmic chomps. And my sleepwalking self, I started feeding it, pulling things out of a bucket beside me. Organs, maybe? Raw meat? I don't know. But whatever it was, it made the thing moan. Not a normal moan. This layered, overlapping cry, like multiple voices trapped in a single throat. And then, I spoke, but not in my voice. It came out low, gravelly, wet, like my vocal cords were covered in mold. She's rejecting the blood. It's not clean. She needs an echo donor. I turned to the camera, still blind, eyes sealed, blood dripping from my chin. Stage 3 is feeding. The camera shook, like the person filming was nervous. I could hear their breath. Fast, terrified, like they weren't supposed to be there. Then the worst part, the thing on the table, it spoke, but not in words. It mimicked sounds, my voice, my laughter, lines I've said in real life, from phone calls, from videos I'd posted years ago on Snapchat, all mixed together like a glitching Siri voice. It's me, I'm him, you're me, we're him. That's when I realized something. The camera wasn't held by someone else. It was mounted on my head. The footage was point of view. I was filming myself the whole time. And the person on the table, the half-human, half-horror, it wasn't a stranger. It was my ex. I hadn't seen her in over a year. We broke up after she started sleepwalking too. Back when I thought this was just some freak medical thing. I even helped her get into a sleep clinic near Lake Geneva. She ghosted me after that, changed her number, deleted her socials, and now, here she was, on a table, torn open, alive, and I was feeding her. I ripped the USB out of my laptop, threw it across the room. I was shaking so bad I couldn't even breathe. But that wasn't the end. Later that night, maybe 2:45 a.m., I heard a knock at my window. I live on the second floor. No balcony, no fire escape, just glass. I didn't want to look, but I did. She was there, my ex, pale, dripping, jaw unhinged like a snake. Her eyes looked wrong, too big for her skull, and pulsing. Every few seconds, they'd flash white, like there was something moving underneath. She mouthed something. I couldn't hear it, so I recorded it. On my phone, slowed it down, reversed it, ran it through a voice mod app. What she said, I'm not done being fed. I don't remember what happened after that. I woke up in my bathtub, fully clothed, water red, nose bleeding again. My dog was gone. I checked the backyard, the front, everywhere. Gone. No barking, no signs of struggle, but its collar was on my pillow. The tag was melted, bent like it had been microwaved. I called the animal shelter, filed a missing pet report. They called me the next day and said something that made my stomach collapse. They said my dog had been turned in a day earlier by me. I brought him in. There was footage, security cam video of me walking into the shelter, calm, blank-faced, handing my dog off and signing a waiver. But I have no memory of this. None. I begged them to let me take him back, but they said he was already transferred out to a special behavioral center due to extreme agitation. When I asked where, they said they had no record of where he went after. No trail, no receipt. Just gone. I've started getting nosebleeds again, but now the blood's black. I don't think it's blood anymore. It's thicker, sticky, smells like iron and rot and something else, copper and sulfur mixed. Every time I wipe it, I find tiny black hairs in the tissue, like insect legs. I haven't slept in 3 days, but sometimes I wake up. That's the worst part. I don't fall asleep anymore. I just wake up, covered in dirt, fingers sore. One time I had soil in my mouth, real dirt, with a worm wriggling under my tongue. I had scratch marks down my arms too. Not like I was attacked, like I was digging, like I'd crawled out of something deep. And this morning, there was a note pinned to my chest with a sewing needle. Stage 4 begins underground. Welcome home. They say most of Chicago is built on buried things. Old buildings, forgotten subway lines, plague pits from the 1800s, entire neighborhoods swallowed by time. But some things are buried on purpose, to keep them contained. And when you start waking up underground, covered in bite marks and soil, you realize maybe they weren't buried deep enough. It started with that note pinned to my chest. Stage 4 begins underground. I was shaking when I pulled it off. Blood soaked through the paper, the needle still sticking halfway into my collarbone. I should have screamed, but I didn't. I was numb, like my body was trying to protect me from whatever was coming next. I hadn't been outside in days. My skin was pale, borderline translucent in the bathroom mirror. The veins in my neck were starting to show, thick and dark, like something was pumping sludge through me instead of blood. I knew I had to go. Somewhere. Anywhere. I couldn't stay inside anymore. My walls were bleeding. Literally. I'd wake up and there'd be handprints on the inside of my ceiling. My ceiling. Drag marks like something tried to climb down from the attic. So I packed a backpack, flashlight, gloves, one of those crank radios I stole from my college's emergency prep room, and went back to where it all started, the alley behind the Starbucks, the place where he collapsed. There's a manhole back there. I always thought it was sealed shut, city locked, but that night, the cover was moved, not removed, dragged, like something big had come up and couldn't quite fit through the opening. The air pouring out of it was wet, thick like soup. It smelled like damp metal and burning hair. I climbed down, and I swear to God, the ladder didn't end. I kept climbing, down and down, deeper than any sewer line should go, past the smell of shit and rot and into something older. The air changed, colder, quieter, too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your own breathing sound violent. When I hit the bottom, I was somewhere I don't think any map, has ever shown. Not a tunnel, a chamber, like a subway station built out of bone and rust. Metal piping coiled along the walls like veins, and the floor was covered in this moss-like sludge that twitched when I stepped on it. That's when I heard them. The others. Whispers first, then chanting. Not words I understood, just sharp clicks and breathy syllables, like someone imitating language without knowing what it means. I followed the sound. Around the corner, past a rusted-out elevator shaft, and what looked like a pile of bones. Not human. Too long, too many joints. I saw them. Maybe a dozen people, standing in a circle, all sleepwalking, eyes sealed over, skin paler than snow, every one of them humming the same note, low and deep, vibrating through the walls. And in the center of the circle was a hole, not just a hole in the ground, a void, like the earth had been peeled back, and something inside was looking up through it. I felt it in my spine, this pressure, like something was pulling my brain down through my neck. I wanted to scream, run, claw my eyes out, but my feet moved forward instead. One step, then two. The others parted, made room for me. They knew me. Somehow, they recognized me. I saw one of them smile, even though their lips were stitched together with wire. The skin around their mouth was torn raw, blood-crusted and black, but they were grinning. Then one of them stepped forward and whispered in my ear, clear, calm, friendly. She's almost full. Just one more donor. I didn't ask who. I didn't need to. They handed me a knife, rust-covered, serrated, still wet, and a small metal tray with a tongue on it. Not human. It was black, too long, forked, still twitching. One of them knelt beside the hole, whispered something, and the void responded. It breathed. That's the only way I can explain it. A wind came from beneath, hot and thick like exhaled meat, and then I saw something inside. Her, the thing I fed in the video, except she had grown. Her skin was splitting open in places like overripe fruit, teeth where there shouldn't be teeth, arms covered in what looked like eyes, all blinking in slow, syrupy patterns. She looked at me, not with pity, with hunger. He still sleeps inside you, she gurgled. Let me eat him. Let me wear your face. Then my hand moved. I didn't control it. I stabbed myself, in the shoulder, not deep, just enough to draw blood. The others cheered, this sick, gurgling applause. Someone started laughing, not with their mouth. Their stomach was splitting open, and the sound came from there. I stumbled back, pulled the knife out, dropped it. The chanting stopped. All eyes turned on me. And then, one of them ran at me, mouth open, jaw unhinged. I saw a tongue come out of his chest. Not his mouth, his chest, like a parasite peeling out of his ribcage. It wrapped around my arm, started pulling me. I had one choice. I jumped into the hole. I don't know how long I fell. Time didn't exist down there. I blacked out. When I woke up, I was in a room. Brick walls, yellow flickering light bulb, a mirror in front of me. And behind the mirror, me. But he wasn't moving like me. He smiled when I didn't. He blinked when I stared. Then he raised a hand. Mine didn't move. He held up a note. Stage 5. Replace yourself. And then he walked away. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I just watched as he took my face and walked out of that room. And I've been here ever since, watching, because this isn't me typing. It's him. There are places inside you that you've never been. Corridors of flesh and bone where things can grow without you knowing. They sleep in your marrow. They hum inside your nerves. You feel them when you're just about to fall asleep. That drop in your chest, like something tugged your soul downward. That isn't fear, that's recognition. You think you're alone when you close your eyes, but you're not. There's something else wearing your skin every night. You just haven't seen it yet. I have. And it's why I no longer trust mirrors. Because after I fell into that pit, after I saw the version of me, the one that smiled wrong and blinked out of sync, the one that typed things before I thought them, I stopped understanding the difference between watching and being watched. The room I woke up in had no doors, only one wall, a reflective, pulsating membrane that showed him, the fake version of me, walking freely, living, pretending. He was out in the world, and I was locked inside my own reflection, trapped like a fossil in amber. I screamed, not like a horror movie scream. It was guttural, ancient. My voice tore. Blood poured from my mouth, thick and dark. Something black wriggled down my chin, like my throat had been infested. I felt my fingernails split. They peeled upward, revealing something underneath them. Teeth. Tiny baby teeth. My hands weren't mine anymore. I started peeling my skin off, out of instinct, like shed in layers. My nails snapped, but I kept peeling, because under the skin, something was smiling. You could feel the grin, wide and stretched, like it was learning how to mimic emotion. And in the mirror, he didn't flinch. He laughed. I don't know how long I was down there. Days, weeks. Time didn't pass right. There was no hunger, no thirst. But something in me changed. My dreams stopped being mine. I'd dream of cities I'd never been to, faces I'd never seen, but they knew me. They welcomed me, called me seed bearer, called me split mouth. The worst dream was the one where the moon bled. It was hanging low in the sky, dark red like an open wound, and people were just standing in the streets, arms up, mouths open, drinking in the red light like it was honey. Their faces melted as they stared. Their skin turned glassy and thin, like candle wax over a flame. And behind the moon, something moved, something huge. I could only see its silhouette. Dozens of arms, no head, only a mouth that opened across the sky. It spoke in colors I didn't know existed. And then I woke up, not in the chamber, not in the mirror, but back home. My bed was made, my clothes were clean. My dog was barking downstairs, like nothing had ever happened. My laptop was open, the USB gone. My face, back to normal. But I knew something was wrong. The air was too still. The silence felt artificial, like someone hit mute on the world. And then the phone rang. I didn't recognize the number. I don't even remember answering it. But I heard breathing, low and wet, like someone was exhaling through rotten leaves. Then a voice whispered, "We let you out. Now build." Click. I thought maybe it was just a dream, a breakdown, a psychotic episode. Maybe I was never underground. Maybe I hallucinated the whole thing. Then I turned on the lights and saw the walls. Hundreds of photos, taped, glued, stapled. All me, sleeping. Dozens of angles, different rooms, hotels I've never stayed in, subway cars, airplane bathrooms. In each photo, I'm asleep, and someone is watching me. Not just one person, different ones. Men, women, children. Some with no eyes, some with teeth growing from their cheeks. Some blurred out, like the photo refused to capture them clearly. All of them smiling. There was a map on the floor, drawn in blood. Chicago was marked with a black circle, and branching out from it were red lines, like veins, touching thousands of points. Cities, schools, churches, stadiums. all with one word written beside them in smudged ink. Nests. I heard movement downstairs. Footsteps. Wet and slow. I grabbed a knife from my drawer and crept down the hall. I turned the corner into the kitchen, and there, at the table, was my mother, or what looked like her, except she was eating hair, bundles of it, soaked in something viscous. Her fingers were shaking as she pulled it from a silver bowl and swallowed strand after strand. Her eyes were sealed shut, her mouth too wide. I asked her what she was doing. She just looked up, smiling with teeth that weren't hers, and said, "You brought him home. Now feed us." I ran. I didn't take anything, not even my phone. I sprinted out of the house and into the street, barefoot, screaming. People stared, but no one stopped me, because they knew, because their eyes were all sealed shut. I made it 10 blocks before I found another one. A man in a Starbucks apron, standing perfectly still in the middle of the road, his arms twitching, blood leaking from his mouth in slow, perfect streams. When I passed him, he whispered, "You are the contagion now," and collapsed. But this time, he didn't disappear. Cops came, EMTs, people tried to help. I stood in the crowd, shaking, watching as they zipped him into a body bag. But I could see it. The black roots already spreading from his veins to theirs. Nurses, paramedics, a kid filming on TikTok. I saw the way their pupils pulsed, the way they started smiling. I knew what stage 6 meant. It's when it stops being a virus. It becomes a belief. You're not infected by blood. You're infected by knowing. That night, I broke into a hotel, room 604. I found an old laptop someone left behind and wrote all of this out, every part of it, because I had to leave something behind before I do what comes next, because I'm not human anymore, not completely. I see things now when I blink, symbols in light, faces in walls. I see people on trains without skin, just nerves exposed and twitching, but no one else reacts, because they're not ready yet, but they will be. You reading this? You're already halfway there. Every time you reread a line, the virus spreads. Every time your brain tries to understand, it opens another door inside you. That's what hybrid rejection really is. Your body fighting back against what's already inside. But it's too late. You already looked. And now, you're next. Don't sleep tonight. He's hungry. And he wears your smile now.